Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland, episode 136. Ted, happy anniversary. I think that we've done this
Happy.
for 4 years.
Oh my God. Has it been that long?
I believe it's May 13th of 2020. That's the year of Barbara Walters.
Yes.
That's when we started this. So
By the way, do you know that they wanted her to, when the ball dropped in New York for January 1st, 2020, they wanted her to say this is 2020, but her health prevented her from doing so?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes.
Wow. That would have been really
100%.
cool.
I read that.
Wow.
Yes. I mean,
I always liked her.
she was 90 some years old at the time. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
but
true.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
Here we are, still plugging along.
Ted, as we move forward with our show, we have a lot going on, but one thing I wanted to bring up, we've talked about this in the past, and we usually have this in our out and about segment and all that stuff. There actually recently has been some closings of some restaurants.
Yeah.
One local one, El Carcinero, which was a fan favorite of mine. I used to like that a lot. It was on Detroit Avenue in Lakewood. And then recently, and it hasn't affected Ohio yet, but I think it's coming. There was a host of Red Lobsters that closed nationally.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do you remember your times at Red Lobster?
I'll tell you what I remember is those the bread.
Oh yes. The cheesy, was it the cheesy
Yeah.
biscuits or whatever that was? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which everybody
Sometimes you
tried
go
to
there for just
recreate.
for the bread.
Pretty much, yeah. You didn't go for the all you can eat shrimp.
Well, I'm
Did
not
you
saying
do
I
that?
did, but
That's crazy though. And I unfortunately, as I was reading, there's many other chains that could follow as well, just because of rising food costs. And I think less people are eating out than they used to and all that. And it's a
I
different situation. So we will see.
I I think this is somewhat a delayed after effect of the pandemic.
Yes.
It's just finally catching up with some restaurants who initially survived, but people have changed. But what are we going to do?
Not much you can do. So
I can tell you, I have not stopped eating.
I think we've both done a good job with that.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll ever be anything we stop.
Right.
We may at some point in time pause this podcast, but our eating and drinking
Definitely continue.
How about some jersey numbers? You
Oh,
like
jersey
those?
numbers. 36. Boy, there aren't a lot of 36s.
There aren't. There's a total of 3 that for the Browns and the Cavaliers, and then there's quite a bit for the Guardians / Indians.
Well, I think there's a current Brown who I want to say he's a cornerback or a safety.
Yes.
Am I close? Is this the guy who's going to retire after this year?
There's been talks of that, yes.
Okay. I can't think of his name, but
he's not even one that I put on the list, to be honest with you.
Well, 36 was Dino Hall. No, Dino Hall was 26.
Yes.
But I don't know.
Here's the list. Marion Motley wore that number for 1 year.
Okay.
MJ Stewart.
Oh.
Stephen Braggs.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's the list. There's other people on there, Ted. You and I have no sports. I didn't know the other folks on there, so I didn't decide to read them. There's one Cavalier in the history of the Cavaliers that has worn the number 36. He's a recent player.
Okay. That doesn't help.
I'll just give it to you. Omri Caspi.
Excuse me?
Yes. Mr. Caspi. He wore 36.
All right.
For the Guardians, Indians, you got a shot at maybe one or two, I'll say.
Well, should I throw Mark Wiley out there just on
Mark Wiley? Yep, that's just like throw that out there. He's gonna be one of these numbers
at some point.
He's not 36.
36. Oh man, I don't think there were any guys of note from the mid '90s team that wore 36. Am I right?
There is, but Yeah, there is, but this person only, once again, you got players that wore a number for like a year and then they
Oh,
switched to a different number.
I got nothing.
Here's the list.
Okay.
Couple Hall of Famers. One should be a Hall of Famer. Gaylord Perry,
Okay.
Rick Waits,
Okay.
Jamie Easterly. I know he's one of your favorite players.
Yeah.
Albert Bell wore that number for 1 year.
Oh my.
Herbert Perry.
Herbert Perry. How did I leave out?
I was just going to say that's the one I thought you were going to get.
Perry.
Yes. Paul Bird, Yandy Diaz, and Jeremy Guthrie. Those are the notables for 36.
Herbert Perry. What a nice guy he was.
Was he a good guy?
Oh, he, I mean, he remembered me. I'm sure he didn't know my name, but you can tell when somebody remembers you, knows who you are. He would see me in the dugout and, hey, how you doing? What's going on?
So let's have this. Yeah, keep going.
He, there was, they were signing autographs up the third base line. And, I don't remember who it was, but one of the players was up there and he's like, he comes back to the dugout and he's like, Herbert, you got to go up there. There is this hot girl. You got to go over there and sign autographs. Or somebody needs to go up there and get her phone number. And so I'm the only one sitting there. So they all look at me and I'm like, okay, this ought to be fun. So I go over there and I'm like, well, how am I going? And they're like, you'll know who we're talking about. Sure enough, it was a Rolls Royce amongst Yugos. And so I walked up and I said, hi, couple of the ball players are interested in getting your phone number. And the whole crowd applauds. And so she gives me I don't know, we had a piece of paper or something. She writes her phone number down. Being the stupidly honest guy that I am, I didn't keep the phone number, which I should have done.
For yourself?
For myself, yes. So I'm walking back and Herbert Perry is walking out there finally. Because he wasn't the most gregarious guy. And he's walking towards me. So we cross. And I extend my hand to shake his hand and I palm him the phone number and he just laughed. He could not believe that this occurred. I have no information on whatever happened between this young lady and any Indian baseball players, but that's, yeah.
That is a classic story. This is new for me. I've never heard this story before. This is great. Yep. Maybe in a future podcast, we need to, turn back the clock and think about some of these other stories you've had with ball players and interviews and all that kind of stuff. Real quick, is there another player super nice, similar to Herbert?
Jim Thome. Jim Thome.
Really?
Hands down, Jim Thome.
Huh.
Absolutely. He, so before the game, players, if they were near their locker, you could go over and talk to him. He was near his locker. And there were some people crowded around him and I couldn't quite get in there. And so they kind of stopped and I walked up and I said, Jim, can we talk to you real quick? And he turned around and he said, I am really sorry. I need to go hit right now, but you come and see me after the game and I will give you a one-on-one interview. I didn't have the heart to tell him that we were from Mansfield and I wasn't going to be around after the game. I just said, thank you very much. I could tell that he was quite sincere in what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I had seen him do that before. So I have no doubt that if I'd have been there, he would have made sure that I got a chance to talk to him.
All right. Well, since we haven't had a podcast in a month, then I can ask you this question.
Yeah.
Who was the most, I'm not looking for complete negative, but who was the most difficult to interview?
That I had a run-in with?
You personally, yes.
Jarrett Wright.
Really?
Oh yeah, hands down, Jarrett Wright. He was coming back from, he had the mysterious shoulder injury that may or may not have occurred during some alcoholic beverage consumption in the flats, and so he's coming back, and at the time I'm working at Channel 19 and 43, and this is a day game. And so I would meet a cameraman down at the game before the game. And if you were near your locker and you had a pulse, I would talk to you. I would find a reason to talk to you because, Ken, the Channel 43 sports on Saturday and Sundays was a long show.
Yes, it was.
So anything I could find to fill that show, I would use. So Jarrett Wright's at his locker. So I go over and I said, "Hey, Jarrett, can we talk to you?" He's rehab, he's had just come back from a rehab stint. I said, "Hey, Jarrett, can we talk to you?" "Yeah, sure." So he turns around, we roll tape, and I said, "Okay, Jarrett, you're back up here, spent some time rehabbing, things seem to be going well for you. How's it going from your perspective?" Or something like that. And he takes his hand and he pushes the microphone down. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, "You don't even know what's going on." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "You don't know what's going on. You don't know my stats. You don't know what I just did in my last game." And I said, "Jarrett, you're right. I don't. But that's why I have the media clippings so I can put that in the story when it's over, after our interview. So I could, add that to the story." "No, you don't know what's going on. You don't know anything." And he's yelling. And I'm like, "Jarrett, I'm just trying to do a positive interview, a positive story on your rehab. Would you like to do this?" "No, I don't want to do this." And so at that point, when one player gets upset with you, if other players see it, they're less likely to talk to you.
Right.
So I back off at that point. And, so that didn't happen. And Bart Swain, who was the media guy, his only concern was, "Are you going to put that on the air?"
Of course. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
"No, I'm not going to. Why would I put it on the air? What do I gain from putting that on the air?"
Yeah. Well, now that would be on. That.
Yeah.
Because of the way things have changed.
Right.
But yeah, that's.
But I was just kind of surprised that Bart didn't say, "Hey, sorry about that, Jarrett's a little, frustrated, whatever." No, I didn't have a problem with Bart asking me the question, but
Sure.
Come on.
Yeah, no kidding.
So anyhow, yeah, my feeling sorry for Jarrett Wright came to an abrupt halt at that point.
I can understand that. Yes. Once again, people not seeing how people are, once again, behind the camera, everyday stuff, most times, the only time people see people is on camera,
right?
We're at a game and how they act. So yeah, that's interesting. Well, we'll have to do this segment more often. Times have passed with Mr. Klopp.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
Let's talk about what's coming up on this week's show. How loud are cicadas? We're going to talk about that. What's the record for the number of world records? A record for world records.
Okay.
How much luck could a Massachusetts woman scratch when she scratched off lottery tickets? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And we have a new segment. What's Ken driving?
And now, a woman's perspective.
What are a married man's two greatest assets? A closed mouth and an open wallet.
This has been a woman's perspective.
Overachiever time, Ted. And an Idaho man. No, it has nothing to do with potatoes, but he's got a Guinness World Record. David Rush singed his hand but kept throwing and catching a fire sword. He did it 73 times in 30 seconds. to break the old record of 60.
Yikes.
Boy, he's basically playing with fire, is he not? Is that basically what we're doing here?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Rush is no stranger to world records. His goal to hold the most Guinness World Records at one time, this achievement got him to 166 records. He is in second place behind Silvio Saba, who currently has 180.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to know what some of these records are, to be honest with you.
I'd like to know what these people do for a living.
I'll be honest with you. If you have that much time and you're that focused on trying to get these records, not much. That's where I'm at. We're joined with John Ryan, one of my favorite cappers. John has some very interesting statistics that I wanted to bring up before we have him talk about some betting in baseball and the WNBA. John is ranked 12th in Major League Baseball and number 1 in the NHL full season and number 4 overall among 100 professional cappers. John has been doing this for 30 years. John, thanks for joining us, and you have been on a roll lately, sir.
I appreciate having me on the show. Always great to see you and Ted together here. One of my favorite times of the week. And yeah, thanks for the accolades. It's I try to keep it all even keeled, rooted. Any day we could go 0-4 or we could go 4-0, and that's the reality of doing it for 30 years. You truly learn how not to get too psyched when you get a big win or you suffer losses. And any professional that is honest is going to say that he's had losing streaks of 7, 8, possibly 10 games in a row. At the same time, they may have the same type of win streak, but in between those guys, you can hit 65% and end up with 57, 58% on the season. You've done extremely well.
So, John, we're in the baseball season now with the NBA winding down. Baseball, you don't have point spreads like you do in some of the other sports. So, if I'm interested in betting baseball, how do I do that? What do you bet on?
Well, that's a great question. And, tongue in cheek, I would tell you probably not to bet baseball. But over the years, I've developed a lot of algorithms that I put together that work like a 401k plan with your retirement. It spreads the risk out over many industries. Instead of industries, we're talking aspects of the game. So one of the algorithms might focus on rebounding in the NBA playoffs, which Pat Riley made famous. If you win the rebounding game, you're probably going to be a world champ. And so on and so forth. Same thing with baseball. No better example right now than the Philadelphia Phillies and the Yankees, who are just scorching hot. And Ranger Suarez, lefty for the Phillies, who is their number 3 pitcher and has done things that no other pitcher has done in the history of baseball, at least going back to 1908. So you have these situations where you think, wow, this is going to go on forever. The Phillies are going to end up winning 70% of their games on the season and win the World Series. But unfortunately in baseball, it doesn't work that way. The baseball guys can get fickle. If you get too full of yourself, they have a way of humbling you. I'm not saying the Phillies are, but a bettor, even a pro bettor, can think, wow, I'm taking the Phillies every single day. The point you miss is that the market is adjusting to the public love affair with the Yankees and the Phillies right now. And, the Dodgers are the team that I thought, and the Braves, I thought would be overvalued at this point. They are not. And who thought that the Phillies would be winning by 5.5 games in the NL East at this point? Not me. I thought the Phillies had a great team to get to the playoffs, but this has been a remarkable start. Not since 1993 and 1976, which was the Mike Schmidt, Greg Luzinski, Steve Carlton team, have the Phillies done this well. And I might add, the fickleness of baseball. Preseason 1993, the smart prognosticators on the major network said that the Philadelphia Phillies would come in dead last and probably would be the worst baseball team in the league, both American League and National League, and they ended up losing in the World Series. So you really, truly don't know. In baseball, I tend to, I learned a long time ago, you have to bet dogs. You guys have seen the plays recently. A couple of plays this year. I've worked with the White Sox when they were plus 250. Recently, that hasn't worked. But you play more dogs than favorites, you're going to stand a good chance of making money if you can identify those dogs that are live and in a situation which my algorithms provide. And they cut through all the subjectivity, if you will. It tells me, okay, take a look today at XYZ team because they're a plus 150 dog on the road against a divisional foe coming off 3 consecutive losses. Whatever it tells me to do, it tells me the situation where I can bet a dog with confidence. And even if that dog loses by 10 runs today, I know that that algorithm has made money for 10 consecutive or more seasons in a row. So, no algorithm is going to hit 80%. Some of them hit 40%, but they're feasting on plus 180 underdogs, and then you end up with a 40% ROI, which is hard to do in the S&P 500 even. So one last thing with baseball, there is a point spread, so to speak, the run line. Plus 1.5 for the underdogs and minus 1.5 for the favorite. And you can get alternate lines too, minus 2.5. What I found to be a common mistake that new bettors, new amateurs are prone to do, especially with all the legalization recently, is that they look at a team that's favored by minus 300 on the money line. And then they think, well, that team's going to automatically win. So I'm going to put a little money on the money line at minus 300, and then I'm going to take the minus 1.5, which is probably going to still be a favorite of minus 170. And then, they're going to blow this team out because that team's bad. And they bet the minus 2.5 run line, the alternative line, probably at maybe, even money, pick them. And what happens is, let's put it this way. What happens when that team loses? Now, all of a sudden, you're down like 5 units, and you have to win 5 in a row just to break even from that one loss. So you want to stay clear of those huge favorites. And if anything, bet dogs that are 250 and higher consistently, just blindly, and you'll at least break even over the course of the season. It's truly remarkable how that works. But if you bet the favorite in those games, you're going to lose a ton.
Wow, that's good information, John, because in all honesty, most people will just take a look at who's playing that day. They'll look at, just as you mentioned, the Yankees are hot, the Phillies are hot. Sometimes you look at a team like Seattle or something like that. Oh, they're playing a team like Colorado, they're playing the White Sox. I'll just bet them blindly and with all those different bets, and it just doesn't work out. Yeah, obviously, the best way to control your bankroll is to protect it, and just make smarter bets. On the other realm of baseball, obviously, you talked about the sides. You talked about, certainly they have the run line. You also, in your procrastination, as you cap stuff, John, you also do overs and unders on totals. Talk a little bit about that. Is that a different situation? Obviously, everyone's familiar with the over-unders when it comes to basketball and football and all that. Is it a little bit different mentality for baseball, considering there's 9 innings and obviously, you have games that are 3-2 and 5-4 and stuff like that? Talk about that a little bit if you could.
Yeah, there's several situations, and market sentiment comes into play more on these plays than taking the dogs. So, for example, you've seen me play unders in Dodger games. So, what is the public betting? Dodgers? Are you kidding me? They're gonna score 8 runs by themselves, and that's the mentality of the betting community. So, there's been times where you've seen the Dodgers at 8.5, and we're betting the under, which is a head scratcher. I admit, like that gives people a little bit of pause. Like some of the clients say, "Are you sure about this?" But then in my research, I show them the algorithm, and it shows the exact situation of why we are betting on the under. And, at the end of the day, I like saying we don't bet on mascots or teams. We bet on situations. And no better example than in baseball, where you get 75% of the handle on the tickets betting the over. And let's say it's even 7.5 runs. And it seems so logical, so certain that it's going to blow way over the total, and all of a sudden you end up with a 2-1 game. So those are the ones I do look for and go contrarian. And the totals are probably they're pretty tough to do unless you have a specific methodology. And lucky for me, I have those 5,000 algorithms that pump in information and prevent me from thinking, Ken.
Yes.
That's the worst thing you can do is think. And start, like with Ranger Suarez on the hill today, the line opened at minus 150, which I thought was cheap against the Rangers. But John Gray is a hell of a pitcher in his own right. But that total is factoring in two great starters. And in Philadelphia on a hot day today, 84 degrees is going to be the high. That's a hitter-friendly park, just like Arlington is for the Rangers. And this game, I would lean to the over for what that's worth, just because you have two outstanding starters, and there's no reason to think that there's going to be more than 8 runs or 9 runs scored in the game. One of these teams could score that many on their own merit.
Yeah, they certainly could.
John, my wife tells me all the time, the worst thing you can do is think. I
think that's true universally for all men. And if men would admit that, they would really make the counter species, counter gender, a lot happier.
Yeah.
Because we need their guidance. We do.
Well, another sport that you've had success with for a very long time, John, is the WNBA. I wanted to talk about that with you very briefly. Once again, obviously, a lot of excitement with the WNBA now with Caitlin Clark and all that, and with the Indiana Fever. But I wanted to kind of get your philosophy. A lot of people do bet basketball. I think NBA is a very popular sport that people like to bet. And there could be some people recently that are like, hey, I like to jump into the WNBA. But one thing that I've been told, and obviously I want to get your 2 cents in it, much different games, much different ways to look at the games and bet. Is that your thoughts on between the two sports?
Absolutely spot on, Ken. That really is 100% correct. I've done research taking NBA algorithms and applying them to the WNBA, and there's no correlation. They're two different animals. First and foremost, they score a lot more points. There's more minutes in the game. On the men's side, the NBA side, and you have to factor that in. So the algorithms do take that into consideration. So I have a game tomorrow. If you want to, this is a bet for Wednesday that I'm going to give out to the clients, within a couple of hours, and we're betting on the Fever. Caitlin, has had a rough start. I think she's kind of felt like she's gotten her face slapped a few times here, because the game at the college level is vastly different than what she's experiencing now. And you don't know what to expect until you go through it. And, that happens in all sports. There's a big jump from AAA baseball to the majors. So this betting algorithm has gone 169 wins, 229 losses. So why are we betting on this team? But you'll soon learn why. 43% winners, but it's averaged a 275 money line dog. So that's a highly profitable $112,000 profit for a dime better, which is $1,000 a game. And that's since 2006. So that by itself, if you just follow that betting system, you're going to lose 60% of the time roughly. But because you're betting on 275 and greater underdogs, it really, really does work out. The game is the regular season game only. The total is priced at 145 or more points, which nowadays most of the games are. We are betting on the dog, and it is priced between 1 and 9.5 points. So anything that's not a double-digit dog. And our dog is coming off a road game loss. The spread, now here's where the sentiment comes into play. The spread has remained the same as the opening, or actually moved against us. So here we're using sentiment because what is betting public going to do? They're probably going to bet against the Fever because they look terrible. They're 0-4. There's no hope for them to even win a game. And this might be the place where they actually get the first win. And you're getting paid handsomely to take that risk. So I like the Fever tomorrow night quite a bit.
That's a great pick, John. That is something definitely I'm putting on my docket for sure. Thanks for the preview on that. I appreciate that. Ted, you had a question, I think. Do you have a question on horse racing?
I do. So we just had the previous John, and I'm curious what your outlook is on the third leg of the Triple Crown, and where we go from here.
Well, I have to admit, I did have Seize the Gray. I don't give out my picks to clients, although there is a little bit of a request now. I've been fortunate to know a couple really, really smart guys in horse racing for the championship, Triple Crown races. So I don't do, daily horse racing. I don't have that much of an interest in it because I don't understand it. And if I don't understand it, I'm probably not going to, try to invest money in something I don't understand. But I really, with the track being the first time in 85 years, it was muddy. It's been sloppy a lot of times, but it was designated as muddy. I started looking at the track, and this is when, like, within 10 minutes of the post time, and I started looking at the track and how far the feet, the hoofs, were going into the mud. And I thought, my goodness, this is the shortest of the 3 races, but these horses are going to be dead tired coming down the home stretch. So I loved how Seize the Gray looked. And I learned this, from really, really smart people. He was very calm in this mud, and he was, along with his stable mate, and, they were just having a little conversation about how he was going to win this race, I guess. It looks like they're almost talking to each other. And, at the last minute, I put some pizza money on it just for entertainment value, nothing big. And I did have a superfecta with 6-7 at the top of the pyramid, I think I did it for 20 cents, but when you pyramid it like that, it ends up being like $30. But that was the first time in years that I hit a superfecta. And I want to emphasize that point. You do a superfecta so you can laugh at yourself for being so stupid that you thought this horse was going to do X, Y, and Z. But much to my surprise, I really thought Mystic Dan was going to chase him down because Mystic Dan looked great coming around that third corner. He was right in the perfect spot. And, credit Seize the Gray, he held him off and won.
Yeah, it was a great race. Congratulations, John. I know some other people that had Seize the Gray as well. I was watching an establishment, and all of a sudden I'm watching the race, and I hear somebody just screaming like they just got hit in the back of the head. Well, I found out that guy had a trifecta with Seize the Gray in it. So very exciting.
Yeah,
well,
paid
John.
pretty well.
Oh, it is. Thanks for the time, John. I want to give the opportunity to you to kind of promote what you have going. You have a little bit of a different platform as well that you're providing picks with. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was pleased to be invited to join the Winnable.com team. They just finished a $6 million round of investor money, angel round, and that includes some big-time pro athletes. Michael Beasley he was playing not too many years ago, right?
Yeah.
So he's an NBA guy. Ray Lewis, the famous linebacker, is also involved with this platform. And they're really doing the things right. So to get me, it's winnable.com, John Ryan Sports. Of course, the winnable.com/John Ryan Sports. And you'll find out everything I have to offer for all the sports, a lot of specials. And I think you'll like it a lot. The biggest thing there is that as soon as I load up a pick and somebody buys it, but as soon as that is an approved payment, it zings the picks right to them with the research, both to the cell phone and an email. So I think that's one thing alone that makes them stand out from everybody else.
Yeah, John, it's great. I've obviously been following your picks for a while, and I really enjoy that. Your detailed analysis. And ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Winnable.com/John Ryan Sports. You'll be very impressed with the write-ups, and it shows you all the different angles that John has for all the picks and all that. So, John, any other insight or anything like that as you got coming up here in the next couple of weeks? I mean, soon enough we'll be at the All-Star break, because I know these times just fly, as Ted and I know. But anything else you're looking forward to sports-wise as we move here in the next couple of months?
One thing comes to mind is the Eagles in the NFL have a very favorable schedule. They are one of the few teams that is not playing an opponent coming off their bye week. Last year, they had a gauntlet, if you remember, with Seattle and that whole gauntlet of Kansas City Chiefs, Dallas. And they managed to get through that, but I think it wore them out down the stretch, obviously. But they are in a very good situation having to not face a team that's rested. And that's a huge, huge thing for them. So I would probably take a look at their team total wins and consider betting the over. And most of all, Ken and Ted, the last thing that always comes to mind is bet with your head and not over it. And may all the wins be yours.
What? Ken driving.
Well, Ted, many people know that I rent cars for work, and I drive all around, and I came up with this idea way back of maybe doing a blog or something like that to kind of talk about some of the different vehicles that I drive, because I drive many different vehicles. Well, knowing myself, and I'll talk in third person, Ken sometimes doesn't have a lot of time to do things, and to put a blog together, there's no time for that.
None.
However, I am part of a podcast, courtesy of yourself, Mr. Klopp, and I figured now would be a great time to talk about some of these vehicles. If you have questions, you could find us. You could send me emails. I could give you more details, but I'll give you an idea of some of the cars that I drove
Oh,
and what my thoughts are.
okay.
What do you think? Sound
Oh,
good?
I love this.
Okay. So last week, I had to go to Cincinnati. I'm sorry, I had to go to Indiana, and I drove a Toyota Corolla.
Okay.
Actually, it's a pretty nice vehicle. Smaller, obviously. The gas mileage was great. I mean, you could go forever in that thing. It was decently equipped. And once again, these are all new vehicles that I'm driving, newer vehicles.
Okay.
I was a little worried about pickup on that because, you get in a situation, you got to get in the highway. How's this going to handle?
You stand on the gas and you don't go anywhere?
I had to stand on the gas a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Oh,
So
okay.
overall, I felt pretty safe in there. Obviously, there's a lot of safety features involved with that vehicle, but I will give each of these vehicles a number from 1 to 10.
Okay.
And my recommendation on so for the Toyota Corolla, I would give that a 7. I was pretty pleased with that vehicle. And for me to give a 10, I mean, it's got to be the greatest vehicle I've ever drove in my life. So then a week before that, I had another work trip and I had a Nissan Altima.
Okay.
Now I must say I'm a big fan of these vehicles. I myself drive a Chrysler 300 that I've had for a few years, so I like it. It's a little bit bigger vehicle, but it's nice, it's safe, and all that. The Altima is a little bit smaller than that, but it drives real nice. Good gas mileage. All the equipment inside is very nice. Has really good pickup as well. I would give that probably a 7.5 to 8. It's a nice vehicle. I think people are very familiar with that. Obviously, I think that might be a vehicle down the road that I might take a look at.
Oh my.
I had the opportunity in this vehicle. Once again, when you go to many different rental places, if it's Enterprise, Hertz, or whatever, sometimes the car you pick, they don't have. It's based on when people return. So a lot of times they have to give you something comparable. I always select, word to the wise, by the way, if you're going to rent a car and if you want to save money and know that you're going to get an upgrade, always select the car that is the lowest type of value or smallest vehicle, because most times those places don't have those vehicles. So when they say, you could have large size, super size, mid size, small, I always select small because they never have those cars in the lot. Most times it's a mid-sized car. So word to the wise.
It's a pro tip.
Correct. I drove a Ford Ecos, which at first I'm thinking, I don't know about this vehicle. It actually drove very well. The back or the trunk of it is very different. You know how most trunks of most cars, they raise up.
Right.
This one does not. It opens up like a door. So in my wisdom, I get this vehicle and at first I'm like, there's no trunk. I can't open this thing up. I don't have any trunk in this vehicle. No, you have to open it up like a door, which is extremely strange because if I had someone parked behind me, I can't open the trunk up. If you understand what I'm saying, like if someone parked directly behind me, if I was in a parking lot, like you go to the grocery store and people obviously park behind you, I couldn't do that. Usually if you have a trunk that goes up, it's easier to do. So that in itself was strange. The ride was nice. A lot of the features in the car was nice. All these different vehicles, you can use the Apple CarPlay, which is great. So you could connect your car and all that stuff. But because of that, I will definitely say that I would not give that as high of a grade as I did with the other two vehicles. I would give that more of a 5 or a 6. It's just a very odd setup. I don't know why it is set up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last vehicle I had was more of a pleasure trip. So I drove a Ford Expedition. I mean, if you ever want to feel like, I don't know, Big Daddy or a pimp or something like that, you just drive one of those. I mean, you just basically control the road and it is equipped. I call that the rolling house. I mean, it is pretty good and it's a smooth ride. I'm not a huge truck person. Once again, I'm not against them, but for taking a bunch of people and all that stuff, it's great. I would give that car probably a 7 or 8 as well. So, Ted, those are my recent rides that I've had. And if anybody has questions about any of those vehicles, I can give you more of a description, but that's what I've been driving here in the last couple of weeks.
What can driving? Good news, Ken. A Massachusetts woman hit the lottery on a scratch-off ticket for $1 million about 3 months ago. Christine Wilson decided not to give up her lottery habit after the win, though. And she recently purchased another scratch-off ticket, and it was good for another $1 million prize.
Oh, jeez.
She says she bought a new SUV after hitting the first time. This time, she claims the winnings are going to go into her savings.
Interesting.
Keep playing. Keep hitting
Yeah.
the millions.
Yeah. That's wild.
That's keep
Just
playing.
keep playing. Keep doing
Keep
it.
playing. Keep
doing
going.
it.
Don't stop now.
Ted, we're out and about Northeast Ohio. Let me just double check. Yes, Northeast Ohio. Gotta double check here. You know, I'm getting older.
Yeah, you know.
Spending our hard-earned money on our favorite things, food and drink. I'll start with the Schnitz Ale House. You got to watch the way you say that.
Yeah,
Very
please.
FCC rules. Luckily, we're on a podcast, so we can say whatever the F we want.
Right.
I was at the Schnitz Ale House for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. They did a great job.
Awesome.
So it was very cool. And then I've also been to the Strongsville Hub where they actually are doing distribution. It is a great place. I highly recommend it. Both of them in Parma and Strongsville. Slim and Chubby's.
Okay.
The Sippin' Post. Have you been to the Sippin' Post recently? And if you haven't, you should.
Okay. No, I've not been to the Sippin' Post.
Okay. Dapper Dan's, which is also in Strongsville, took in some time, saw some old, gosh almighty. So does this happen to you? Maybe not as much. And it's just because I work in a school where you have people that you knew a few years back that come up to you and say, "Do you remember me?"
I hate
That is always a fun time.
Yeah.
And you don't want
No.
to offend.
No, I don't. No, I'm old. I don't remember you.
Actually, the best answer would be, "I forgot you on purpose." So I had a former student come up to me and said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "I think I do," and started describing himself. And then I got his name, so that was great. I'm not going to embarrass him on this podcast, but that was kind of cool. I went to Gunzelman's. That's a very underrated place. I don't know if I don't think have we ever been there? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, it's in Fairview. It's really good. They have excellent burgers, and they've kind of put some money into that place. It's really really good. And here's one. I don't know. I'm not trying to be negative, Nelly, but I'm going to be honest. When is the last time you've been to the Strongsville Mall? I will go with not very often, considering you looked at me like that.
I've been to stuff outside the mall, but I can't remember
the mall itself
inside.
Okay. I will say this. I was there. My daughter had a dance performance there. Obviously, a lot of the main stores are there. I have the food court and all that. There's obviously movie theater. I think it's AMC that's connected to it as well. Obviously, a very cool setup. It is changing. And the reason I'm saying it's changing is because many of the stores that used to be there are gone. They have store areas that are vacant. And the day I was there, it wasn't very many people at all. Now I know over the Christmas holiday and all that, it's packed because people are doing everything they have to do for Christmas. But at that time, it was a Friday night, which in the past, that was always a busy time.
To be the mall night.
Yeah, it was dead. So I must say that I was very surprised to see that. It's been about 5 years since I've been to that mall. But I think like many other places, times are changing and people are just not going to malls anymore. That's why you have what you have in Crocker Park and in Parma. So I eventually, once again, I have no background or anything. It's just from what I've seen. I think that at some point in time, that land will probably turn into something else. That's my 2 cents. So we'll see. So if you like them all, you better go now because I think in the next 3 or 4 years, you might not be there. So there we go. Would that be the out of bounds version or the Patreon version?
That's the yeah. We
Taking out a
can't
turn
do
here.
that here.
Once again, it's just my views. I don't have any
Right.
information. You know, that's
Sure.
all. I went to a place and there was no one there. So there
Yeah.
we go. Friday night at 6. There it is. Ted, that's my out and about. I'm gonna throw the baton to you. What fun stuff do you have for me?
Well, I got to mention a couple mom and pop type ice cream shops.
Awesome.
We have a few different places. Dairy King on
Yes.
Mayfield Road. Love the Dairy King. I love the butterscotch sundae. That is a favorite of mine. We love Mitchell's. You can tell it's summer because, we go to a lot of ice cream places.
That's what you do.
Yeah. So Dairy King is a popular one on Mayfield Road. Also Mitchell's, God, they're awesome. They
are.
You walk in, it's $9.29. And
Yes.
Come on in. No, have a seat. Come on in. Can't say the same for Dairy Queen the last time I was there. We were walking up to the door. They locked the door on us.
Well, they supposedly they treat you right. I guess they
They
did.
don't. So
Word to the wise at Mitchell's, by the way. If the line is ever long, okay,
yeah.
you don't have to stand in the line. Go to the cooler.
Oh yeah.
Get yourself a quart.
Right.
Go to the cash register and get
Right.
some. Well, they used to hand out. Well, I think they still give out cones, but now you have to pay for the cones.
Right.
Which is understandable, but that's the experienced move.
We just tried a new one last night. Valley Villa.
How is that?
Chesterland. It's quite similar to Dairy King.
Okay.
And, a mom and pop ice cream place. We had a baseball game. My oldest son's baseball team is in the CYO championship. And after they won their semifinal game, we went there and good stuff.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, a lot of ice cream, which,
yeah,
as you can see, I've had to get some new shorts.
You have a 1-pack. You're doing great.
Yes. Yeah, I don't need 6 of them. I just have a 1-pack.
Your ice cream mentions, I do have to mention that I went to Olympia.
Oh,
That's in Strongsville. That's owned by Sweeties. So we actually,
okay. Sure.
myself and the kids and a few other people went to that as well. So it was very exciting. It's ice cream season, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Get out there. Get out there.
Expand your bodies.
Expand your bodies. Well, Ted, thanks for being out and about Northeast Ohio, supporting your local businesses. Get out there and help.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Time to talk more Cleveland sports. And to do that, I guess he's the professor of Cleveland sports. I don't know. Jeff Sidler might have something to say about that, but I'm not sure he's in a position to anymore. Anyhow, Dusty Sloan is here. And Dusty, today we're going to talk about May 19th, 1932. Remember it like it was yesterday. Bill Fitch, Hall of Fame coach, coached for the Celtics, the Cavs, the Nets, Rockets, and Clippers. He was born in Davenport, Iowa, just passed away a couple of years ago. Aside from being Joe Tate's favorite coach, what can you tell us about Bill Fitch?
Well, Bill Fitch had the unfortunate luck, whatever you call it, to be coaching not only the expansion Cavs for their first 9 seasons, But if you look at his career, and he was a Hall of Fame coach, deserved it. His career winning percentage was .460. Now, he coached in 2,050 games. So obviously, the guy knew basketball, and the guy could win when you had the talent. He won an NBA championship with the Celtics in 80-81. But you look at some of the teams he coached in that expansion era for the Cavs, .412 winning percentage. Goes to the lowly New Jersey Nets in the late 80s and early 90s, .337. Then goes to the Clippers, who were horrible in the mid 90s. That winning percentage was .302. So he had some teams that he did well with, Boston and Houston, but when it was bad, it was bad.
Well, obviously, you could see how good of a coach he was. He won the championship with Boston, then was coach of the year in '76, as well as in '80. Do you think the thing with just looking at specifically Cleveland, Dusty? I mean, obviously, the name that he's associated with is Ted Stepien. And Ted Stepien, I mean, let's be honest, they created rules because of Ted Stepien of trading picks and doing all these different things. Obviously, that hurt Bill Fitch as a coach, right? I mean, let's just call a spade here. So.
Without question. But on the flip side of that, looking at some of the Cavs teams he had, once he was able to actually coach good players. Remember the Miracle Richfield, they were 49-33 that year. So they actually had 3 consecutive winning seasons where they went to the playoffs. But yes, you can imagine how much better it would have been if Ted Stepien wouldn't have been in the way.
By the way, Ted Stepien, my favorite Mansfield Hawks owner. Do you think?
Well, hold on. No, we're not going to stop there. Who's your favorite coach
of the Mansfield Hawks?
Yeah,
Kevin Mackey.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, my favorite color commentator was?
Oh
no, I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name either. Probably better that way. But if the Cavs had found success sooner under Bill Fitch, is Ted Stepien as bad an owner as he turned out to be, or do you think he wouldn't have taken the approach he did?
Well, I think Ted Stepien was just bad enough that no one could have possibly done any better than what Bill Fitch did. Because you look, Bill Fitch's last year in Cleveland, 78-79, they were 30-52. Then the very next year he goes to Boston and they win 61 games. So I would imagine that if Ted Stepien was bad enough that even Bill Fitch couldn't have done any better than what he did. And by the way, Ted Stepien also was the spearhead for bringing a CFL team to Las Vegas.
Oh my, really? I didn't know this.
Yes, when the Canadian Football League did American teams in the mid-90s, Ted Stepien was the one that said, we should play Canadian football in Las Vegas in the summer when it's 120 degrees.
By the way, let's not let the facts stand in the way of a good story here. I want to be clear. To the best of my knowledge, Ted Stepien's last year as a pro sports owner, he won a championship.
With Mansfield?
Yes.
Wow.
100%. Absolutely.
Ted, where do they play those games?
Top, baby.
Where were those games played?
Those were played at Malabar Middle School.
Thank you.
Yes.
And featured former AU guard Dubray Black.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're really
we're going
we're all over the field on this one.
Into the weeds here. All right. Well, anything else you want to add about Bill Fitch now that we have gone off the rails?
No, I think we covered a lot of things pretty well there.
All right. Well, there you go. Bill Fitch. I think he's the only Cavalier coach to have, isn't his, I don't know, name in the rafters? He doesn't have a number. Isn't Bill Fitch up in the rafters in Rocket Mortgage? Or am I wrong on that?
Well, I don't know.
If Lenny Wilkins isn't up there, that's a crime.
Well, maybe he's just not up there yet. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I know Joe Tate's up there. I thought Bill Fitch was up there, but maybe not. Anyhow, all right. Well, Bill Fitch, born on this date, long time ago, 92 years ago, and still remembered fondly here in Cleveland. Thank you, Dusty.
Thanks, guys.
Cleveland! This is for you!
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Clips.
Here we go, Ken. Cicadas are in the news again. Residents in Newberry County, South Carolina, are calling the sheriff's office because of the loud noise. Callers are saying the noise sounds like a siren, a whine, or a roar. Some people are flagging down deputies as well. As we here in Northeast Ohio know, cicadas sing to attract mates. Experts say when they study the insects, they often wear earmuffs, as some of the songs the cicadas sing can be as loud as jet engines.
Yes, they can.
Or a
It's
small
definitely-
child's scream.
Yes.
Yes.
When you have multiple cicadas, oh my gosh, it is certainly deafening.
I went to the doctor the last time I had that.
How did it go?
He gave me some ointment and it went away. An Australian woman doesn't like the sound of jet airplanes. She has filed some complaints about the noise. We have a lot of noise here in this segment.
Yeah.
This unnamed woman actually filed more than 21,000 complaints about noise from airplanes in 2023. 21,000 complaints. I don't know how you do that. She makes up for more than half the complaints of this type in all of Australia.
She's obviously, I think there's a mental issue there.
Or a hearing issue.
I mean, I would move.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
move to another place. You must be living by the airport, huh?
that's yeah, I don't know. That's odd.
Yeah.
Speaking of odd, here are some scores: 6-4, 5-2, 4-3, and that last one was in 11 innings.
Mm.
I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Oh no, not a dad joke.
How did the picture end up in jail?
Huh. I don't know how.
It was framed.
That joke was horrible.
We're coming to the end of episode number 136 as we enter year 5 of this experience, Ken. I don't know how else to describe it.
Experience is the word.
It's been an experience.
It's been an experience.
My oldest son is about to become a teenager.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, June 7th, coming right
Right.
up. And I thought it might be interesting. He took the liberty, was not asked to do this. He just decided it would be a good idea. He took it upon himself to place items in our Amazon cart
Oh,
that
that's
he would
nice of him.
like for his birthday.
Well, that's super nice of him. At least you know what he wants.
Right. Would you like
Right.
the grand, the monetary grand total of these, or do you want to wait till the end for that?
Let's go at the end.
At
See if
the
I
end.
can-
Okay. Do you want the price as I name each of these things off or no?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's start here at the top. We have the Skytech Shadow Gaming PC.
Oh,
That's $1,059.99.
if go hard and go strong right
Yeah.
away.
We have Dowinix blue light blocking glasses for computer gaming and reading, $24.99.
Okay.
Govee RGBIC LED strip lights. Those are on sale right now for $11.99.
Okay.
We have a Meno gaming USB microphone for $44.09. We have a gaming audio mixer, streaming RGB PC mixer for $49.99. We have a power strip surge protector. He's thought the detail here is kind of impressive.
He has thought about all this.
Power strip, $27.99. Webcam with microphone, $29.99. Microsoft Xbox Series S, $349. Rechargeable battery pack for Xbox Series X and S, $11.99. Xbox Core wireless game controller, $51.77. Cool gaming wall art, retro video game watercolor posters.
Gotta look nice if
Gotta
you're gonna
have
be
it in the
gaming.
background.
Yeah.
$6.99.
Wow.
Gaming room metal sign gamer wall decor, $9.99.
He wants it to look nice.
Sign. Yeah,
That's
what?
good. He wants
Yeah.
it to look nice.
Then we have some neon gaming posters, $13.99 for 4 of those. A Mag G portable 60% mechanical gaming keyboard for $26.99. HDMI fiber optic cable for $75. It's 150 feet, Ken.
Wow, that's a long way.
Well, it's got to reach the Xbox.
Ah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I told you
Okay.
we thought of everything here.
Yes.
Loft bed, twin size with desk. So it's a bunk on top
Yeah.
of a desk underneath.
Yep.
Little man cave neon gaming wood door sign for $10. RGB light bar music sync. $15.99 for a pair of those. Headphone stand with single rolling RGB light. That's $10. Cyber acoustics speaker system with subwoofer, $32.99. Here we go. Packard Bell basic dual computer monitor, 24-inch ultra wide.
You don't need just one monitor, you need two.
$159.99. Gaming laptop mouse, $888. Gaming chair, $99.99. Green screen backdrop and stand kit,
There's a lot of backdrops in this.
$35.99.
Wow.
Elgato Stream Deck studio controller, $129.99. And the grand total on this can be yours if the price is right, and the price is $1,883.86.
What's the chances of him getting any of that?
I told him I might be able to go to bat for him to get the bunk with the desk underneath.
Oh, that's a good call. I had that for my son when he was a little bit younger. That
Yeah.
actually was a nice move. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I told him he probably shouldn't hold his breath on the rest.
Seems like the theme is gaming.
The theme is gaming and streaming. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's rearing to go.
You know what? Go for the gusto. It's easier to take things back as opposed to add on. And that's what he's doing. These are the things he wants.
Right.
You know, there's no guessing.
RGB light, RGB light, RGB light. Green screen.
A lot of gaming. Good for him.
I said, you're not turning your bedroom into a studio. He said, yes, I am.
Certainly sounds like it. Maybe he's trying to get himself into esports.
Oh, he is. Yeah, we have him signed up for an esports camp this year from
Outstanding.
Phil Yale's son,
Brian Yale.
Yeah,
that's super exciting.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. Well, you know what? Just as Brian said, certain kids have a niche, and it sounds like that's his niche. Good for him. Maybe he'll be designing video games and doing all that other stuff down the road. That'd be great.
We'll see.
Super exciting. So, a teenager. Wow.
Frightening.
Well, I had an interesting experience because my son got his license.
Oh.
He now drives to school. That's a much different situation. And by the way, the vehicle that he ended up with, it's a 2004 Jeep Cherokee Laredo with 120,000 miles on it. So
love it.
If you're going to drive something, you know, I imagine you and I know I did. I think you did too. Our first cars were not brand new.
No.
Work your way up. It's a sweet vehicle and very safe. There's a V8 in that thing. I mean, it's got some guts. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. So very exciting about that. But yeah, as we get older, I mean, this is year 4. We're on to year 5. We're going to be experiencing a lot of different things with our kids. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm 2 years away from Riley going to college.
Do we need a segment instead of what's Ken driving? How's Riley driving? Where you detail your experiences in the passenger seat?
I haven't had many recently. The first one was, it's giving up the reins, man. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, but you gotta,
Yeah.
as a parent, you have to adapt to that. So he's
Yep.
done well. I mean, he's driven.
That's good.
He's not driving the highway. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. You're not going to face him on the highway yet, but
Okay.
the mean streets of Medina. Look out, Loretta. So
Streets of Medina.
look out.
Yeah.
Well, Ted, we great show today. Wow.
Oh,
I mean,
my.
I think we made up for it for not having a show like in a month. Special thanks to Dusty Sloan. Once again, giving us our sports facts. John Ryan, thanks for the betting information. Don't forget to bet for the if you're listening to this on Wednesday, Indiana Fever is his thoughts. And then I love the conversations we have with guests. Sometimes those conversations are, I'm not going to say better than our conversation on air, but I didn't know that John relayed to us that he is a bowler.
Yeah.
The other night he bowled a 680 series, which is pretty good. And then he told me that he, you heard it too, he's bowled 16 300 games.
That's strong.
That's really, really good. Yeah, really good. And he didn't make that much of a big deal about it. He says other guys that he bowls with have bowled 100 300 games. So there we go. Special thanks to him. And yeah, great show. You got anything else?
6-8, just so for the bowlers for folks out there who aren't bowlers, a 680 series, that's your total pins over 3 games.
Yes, correct.
So the average on that is about a 227.
Yeah.
You're not missing too often if you're bowling a 227.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's
really no, we got it covered here.
What's the most amount you've ever bowled?
236 was my high game.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
You got me beat. I was at 220 one time. I was so excited.
Yeah. Been a few years.
Yeah. Understand. Well, Ted, great show. Thank you so much for all your work on this. And maybe our next episode will be in 3 months. I have no idea, but we'll more than likely have something in the next 2 weeks. We probably need to talk to Jen Brazdovich. I don't know if she even knows if we're alive anymore.
She might think we stopped the show.
Yeah, she probably thinks that. So nice. So we'll have her on to give us what things we should be doing over the summer and all that fun stuff. So last week of school for us folks in Medina, Ted. Last week, this is it.
I'm lodging a protest. Our last day of school is a week from Friday.
Okay.
When we were in school, we walked up and down. We walked uphill both ways in the snow.
Oh yeah.
But we went till like the 1st or 2nd week of June.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't they go clean the school for a couple months to get it ready for?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't think so. They're not doing that. So.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is, Ted. As they'll go back. All right, my kids go back the 1st or 2nd week of August. So
okay.
Back at it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, be safe out there. Enjoy the summer. And once again, don't forget, we're just 2 middle-aged men in Cleveland.
2 Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.